Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast.
All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. Kevin and Angel with our newest addition to the team, Lianne, who's one of our new client success managers, and she was kind enough to join us on the call today to kind of just introduce herself and talk about business and kind of like what we're seeing with a lot of our clients. So without further ado, Lianne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to have you here. Do me a favor. Do you mind just kind of like introducing yourself a little bit, just telling everybody like a little bit about you and who you are and kind of how you got started with us?
Sure. So I do have a background in dog training. So I was a dog trainer for about 5 years prior to starting my digital marketing career, right before I met you guys. So yeah, I basically spent 5 years of my life a professional dog poop picker-upper. I'm just kidding. But no, a dog trainer. And then after I had my daughter and basically was like, I have to go a different route right now. So I started my career in digital marketing where I was doing Facebook ads, meta ads for other clients. And then I was also learning to build websites. So shortly before I met Kevin, I had to take a little turn and I found Angel on Facebook and basically she had posted a job offer. So that's why I'm here now.
Yeah. Which is so funny looking back on it now because I remember this just, we talk to our clients about this all the time too, which is like when you go to hire somebody, you start thinking about who is this person going to be? It's just a weird idea. Like there's going to be somebody who's such a big part of this that I don't know yet, And so we were talking about that, like how are we going to find this person, who they're going to be? And, I posted that job listing and Angel posted it as well. And we were going through the resumes and there were like a couple of really good applicants and stuff like that. But I remember immediately like pretty much saying to Angel, like, that's the person we're hiring. Because just of your background, being a dog trainer, your expertise in like digital marketing and websites and stuff like that, it really felt like the stars aligned. But so like tell everyone like just a little bit about like, when you were a trainer, like what you were doing and like what kind of like training you were offering.
Yeah, so I did balance training. I actually started my career out as a client. So like many of you guys, I adopted a dog from the streets of Los Angeles and I was like, this is a cute little dog. I should bring it home. It'll get along with my other dog. And fast forward 3 months later, she ended up resource guarding me and brutally attacking my dog over and over and over again. And my husband or my fiance at the time, I was like, hey, like, I don't think this is working out. I think, I should probably find her a new home. And he was like, absolutely not. Like, you're not going to just give her to another person to deal with the problem. You're going to have to find a solution for her. So I'm like, okay, great. Like, this is the age where Instagram started, the algorithm was, I was looking for dog trainers on Instagram and all of a sudden it started showing me other videos for dog training, right? So I actually found a trainer in Los Angeles and started the private training with her. And after a while, she kind of offered me a job after our program was over. So that's how I kind of got into the dog training industry. So I ended up being her kennel tech. And I ended up starting doing like reps with her board and trains, the dog walking for her boarding dogs. And then she kind of moved me into the dog trainer role. So from there, I kind of worked for her and a different trainer. They were best friends. So doing the same thing for both. And then COVID hit. So once COVID hit, I was like, yeah, Los Angeles is not really great right now. The riots, not being able to find food, sitting in grocery lines for 5 hours. So we ended up packing up and moving to North Carolina, where I ended up working for a different dog training company. So from there, I moved to Wilmington and got hired by a different dog training company. I was in charge of doing puppy preschool, which I absolutely loved, private lessons, and I did a couple board and trains as well for puppies specifically. So yeah, basically led the whole private trainings as well as puppy pre-K. And, after a couple of years of working for them, I had my daughter. And so I decided to take a different career change and start doing digital marketing instead.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's difficult, Angel, you can speak to this as well. What was training like for you? Like when you had 2 kids and trying to like get around, do lessons, board and trains and all that stuff.
Oh my goodness. It was insane. When I was training with my kids, they at the time they were both toddlers. I think my daughter was like 2 and they're 16 months apart, so I don't know. You can do the math, but yeah, they were very young. And early on, I didn't have them in daycare, and so I took them everywhere with me. I wasn't doing private lessons at the time because I couldn't. But yeah, I was doing board and trains, and I would have like sometimes up to 6 board and trains by myself with my kids, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough, like being in the dog training industry with kids, especially people who are in like sports, like dog sports and stuff like that. You know, it's tough. So, I mean, I was training for about 11 years before I decided that, you know, it's not something that I want to do forever. But yeah, when you have kids, that adds like a completely different aspect to it.
Yeah.
So I feel you. But you talked about how much you worked with excuse me, how much you worked with puppies whenever you started training in Wilmington. And I love that because I noticed that a lot of people or a lot of our clients absolutely despise working with puppies, or they kind of struggle on like understanding how to structure stuff with puppies, or like giving clients with puppies their own specific structured program and everything like that. So I think, I mean, you have so many great additions that you've brought to the team, but I really love that part because you have such specific experience with so many puppies and like the puppy preschool and different stuff like that. So I love that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a great experience because like all my dogs previously, before I got my dog Johnny, who's a Australian Shepherd, all my previous dogs were already adults, right? So I didn't get to raise a lot of puppies previously. And so this was a really good insight to like raise a good dog, you know what I mean? And with the internet and everything, you're bombarded by so many, like, you should do this, you should do that, you know what I mean? So being a dog trainer and being able to like work with a variety of different types of dogs, different types of breeds of puppies. Like, it really gave me a lot of insight. And as well, it was super fun. I mean, who doesn't love puppies? To be able to help our clients build these programs for themselves, right? So a lot of trainers that I've talked to, they're like, well, why would I do a puppy board and train? I'm just going to have it in the kennel, you know, for a lot of the time. And it's like, that is part of it, but it is also structure. You know, it's like the talking points of not only potty training, but you know, having the dog be adequately rested, you know, because they're growing so at a rapid rate.
I just want to touch on this real quick. Like, I think that, Lianne, something you do extremely well is like help people kind of construct programs around puppies, whether it's group classes, because so many people, they get a puppy inquiry, someone who's, you know, calling or submitting a form about their puppy, and they just write them off immediately. Like, oh man, here's another person with a puppy. They want potty training so involved as far as like the owner needs to be doing so much work and stuff like that. And they just throw it right out the window. Like, I'm not doing this. And first things first, what I always think about is like, you can charge a premium on stuff like this, like especially for stuff you don't want to do. It's not wrong to be like, hey, I will do it, but you need to pay me this amount of money to you know, to have me do it for you. You know, that's the first thing. The second thing is, you know, a lot of this just comes down to coaching and just explaining to people like, hey, this is not going to be something where like an hour once a week is all you need to do. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in between sessions that we do. And there's going to be setbacks, and there's going to be a lot of routine that you're going to need to follow and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times business owners, it's hard because you don't want to offer something that you feel you can't necessarily guarantee. But there's a lot of stuff like that in life. And I think that if you're just clear and, you know, you tell your clients the truth of, hey, we can do this. And yeah, there's going to be a day where your dog is not having accidents inside of the home, but here's what you need. And just explain to them everything I just said there. People are going to understand that. You know, they're going to understand that this is going to require work and stuff like that. So I personally feel like it's a lot of low hanging fruit. And if you are just the dog trainer in your market, there's so many people who don't want to do it that if you're the person who can find out a way to do it, make it worth your while, you're just going to be picking up all those clients that a lot of other people don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Lianne.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like especially with my board and train puppies, like the preface was, I'm going to get them on a really good schedule for not only potty training, crate training, socialization, play, XYZ, but it's up to you to follow the schedule, right? Follow the maintenance of everything I put in for you to raise a good puppy. Even just a week board and train, you can see a lot of results in that. You don't have to do 4-week long board and trains in order to see good results with puppies and transfer that ownership to the client, right? So I think with puppies, it's a really good segue to also get repeat business, right? So a lot of people,
Mhm.
dog trainers, are talking about, well, I can't really do much with a puppy, and then I'm missing out on potentially more money that someone else could book for an adult dog. Well, think of it like this. If you start with a puppy, have it for a week board and train, the puppy gets older, you still have that rapport with the clients, especially if you have a really good relationship with them. They're going to come back over and over and over again. They're going to come back for basic obedience, loose leash walking, right? So that's another program you can sell them. And then later on, e-collar training, right? And the more relationship you build with those clients, the more they're going to keep coming back. So even if you don't love puppies, you despise puppies, just do the board and train or do the group class with the puppies, make people happy, make them love you, and then sell them on your other programs.
Exactly. And Angel, I want to hear from you on this as well. Or,
Mhm.
I was going to say too, like before, Angel, before you give your 2 cents here, like, or hire somebody to do it, you know? Like, think about that. There are people out there. One of our clients, Vanessa, is always jokingly be like, doesn't matter where you are in the country, like, send me all your puppies. Like, I will do it. Send them here. I will do it for you, you know? And there's a lot of people like that out there who would be like happy to have some puppies, that they're just doing basic training with them and stuff like that. So, a lot of times people think like, oh, I can't afford to hire somebody, but there's so much lost revenue in your business where it's like, hey, you have 5 people every single month that you're turning away that you could be charging $1,500 here for. And so all of a sudden you just realize like that's a lot of money. And if I just hire somebody to do it and I pay them a couple $1,000s a month to do it for me, and I have a 50% profit margin on it, that's a really good thing. It's just money you wouldn't have otherwise. But Angel, what were you going to say before?
So I was going to say that obviously with any client, regardless if it's a puppy or an adult dog, and regardless of what the issues are, a lot of communication has to be had, right? Like whether it's upfront in the consultation, throughout the training program, etc. But with puppies, I feel like it's so much more, and that is sometimes, in my opinion, what like scares people away from taking puppies, is because they think like, okay, someone signs up for a program, or I guess when they're used to selling programs for adult dogs, or used to selling these programs, this is what to expect. This is what you're going to get out of it in a 2-week board and train, or this is what you're going to get out of a 4-week board and train. Obviously things happen, things kind of change. You talk to the client about those things, but with puppies, so much different, because it's so much more about like client education and teaching them how to essentially start forming good habits now in order for it to, turn into good behaviors when the dog gets older. And more so like puppy raising. So it's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like delayed gratification, So it's like you can do a program, and as trainers, like, and Lianne, I know you might feel the same way too. Like you do a puppy board and train, we can see the results. We can see the little changes and the small victories, and we can celebrate those things. But when we're thinking of like a client noticing, clients tend to have like higher expectations and think like, oh, my 4-month-old puppy is going to come back and they're going to heal perfectly and they're going to do this and do that and they're never going to bark and they're going to be peeing outside and all this kind of stuff. And that's just obviously not realistic for such a young puppy. So it does require so much more communication and really like setting realistic expectations. Sometimes those can be kind of difficult conversations. And so you really need to be confident in having those conversations and telling people straight up, like, your puppy is not going to do X, Y, and Z. You need to understand that your puppy is just way too young, but we can do these things to set you up for success, so you know how to apply those things as the dog gets older. So aside from some people just not enjoying training puppies because it's just too messy, too dirty, too loud, all the ugly parts of training a puppy, on the other side, I think it's like not being confidently equipped to have realistic conversations with clients of young puppy owners.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I have a question for both of you guys. So do you feel like most people don't want to take on puppies because they just don't want to necessarily have the uncomfortable conversation with the client of like, hey, let's define what the result, there's going to be results here, there's going to be progress, but let's define what that progress is going to look like? Or is it that people just don't want to have a barking puppy who's going to the bathroom in the crate, for a week in their house? Like, what do you guys think it is?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's usually like one or the other. So me personally, when I was taking in board and trains, I wouldn't mind taking in puppies. I know they can be loud. I know they're messy and all that kind of stuff. I didn't constantly have puppies because, I just didn't enjoy doing it. But on the other hand, as far as like having those conversations with clients, like that wasn't an issue for me because I knew how to approach those conversations. I wasn't afraid of having those conversations and really like setting it straight for people because again, people tend to have unrealistic expectations. And so I wasn't afraid of like kind of interrupting that thought process for them. I don't want to like kill their excitement, but as far as like conversations we have with clients, I feel like it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Angel. It's definitely a little bit of both for clients, setting that real expectation and then as well as having a screaming puppy in the house.
Yeah. And I know like I've talked to some people where they've had a puppy in for training and then they kind of deal with issues afterwards with like dealing with the client's unrealistic expectations afterwards, if that makes sense. So, and usually the way that translates to me is, okay, you didn't have enough of a conversation before training to set those expectations. And so now you're dealing with it afterwards. The puppy is going home and the client is like, oh, why isn't my puppy, like I just told my puppy to sit or down. Why aren't they holding that position? And they're getting upset because their dog or their puppy isn't holding positions for a long period of time. And it's like, well, you have a 4-month-old puppy. Like we didn't work on duration to that extent. But basically what I'm trying to say is like, if the expectations even after the dog goes home are causing issues, that to me just seems like not enough information was given before the dog started training. Because a lot of the time, people are saying like, this owner is expecting too much. Like, what are you expecting out of a puppy? What are you expecting? Like your dog was peeing all over the house. Why are you expecting them to come home and not pee? People don't know what they don't know. And they only know what you educate them on in the consultation or educate them on before the training program starts. So that's kind of why I got into like the whole communication thing, because like, granted, some people can be very difficult. Some people you can give them like all of the answers to everything and they're still going to be a difficult client and still have unrealistic expectations. But majority of the time, I think it is just a matter of, you didn't give enough information to the client.
Right. And I think you should also spin it as like you are filling the client's toolbox with tools, right? Like you can start the training, you can put them on a schedule, but the client is ultimately going to have to take those tools out of the toolbox and use them, right? Like, okay, in my house, the puppy didn't pee all over the place. Why is that? Why is the puppy now peeing in your house, right? And having those difficult conversations like, well, are you putting the puppy on a leash? Are you tethering the puppy? Is the puppy in a crate for a good amount of time? Are you taking it outside on a leash and making sure the puppy goes potty? All these factors of like, educating the client, like you said, of, hey, when this is happening, you need to do this, and giving them those resources to look back to.
Yeah. Super well said, Lianne. And I'll just say a super tactical thing here is this is why you should have terms of service. And this is why you should have like a clearly outlined program and what the results are, contract, like all that stuff, because you want to be able to point to that stuff. If you don't have stuff like that, at least a terms of service that people can look at, then they just get to draw up their own subjective idea of what this program should or should not have accomplished versus having something that's clearly outlined. hey, I understand that you wanted that, and we can certainly do that in another program. But remember how we discussed here, and we looked at this paperwork together, and this email I sent you that you opened on this date, and it has all these things checked off here. Like that is, you won't even probably have to have that conversation with. But so many times people just don't even ever send anything like that. It's just a total handshake agreement. Yeah, I'll train your dog. We'll make things better. Blah blah blah. And then that's how you get yourself into that trouble. So clearly communicate in the beginning, have paperwork and like proof that like, hey, this is details exactly what we talked about. And yeah, I mean, I think that'll avoid a lot of problems. The other thing I wanted to say about this as well is there's a lot of people out there, a lot of dog trainers. And what I've noticed is there's this tendency, because every business owner wants this, like you want the good clients. You want the people who like want to pay you $6,000 for a board and train, and they just want their dog to stop pulling on a leash. And they're really excited about using an e-collar or something like that, and they have taken an interest in it, and they're researching about it too, and they want to do more with you and stuff. Those people, from what I've found, typically don't need your help because they're such self-starters that they can usually figure some stuff out on their own, and they usually don't have dogs that are seriously problematic, right? So what I always think about, like the people that are going to make your business are the people who need help. Like think about that. And the people who need help are the people who have big problems. And so where most people fall is they want the stuff that's in the middle. They want like the easy, going healthy dog without like genetic issues and stuff like that, that doesn't like go after people or other dogs and stuff like that. And they're like, where are those dogs? All I'm getting are the people who want potty training and the people who want like aggression or behavior modification. It's like, yeah, because those are the people who really need your help. And specialists in life always get paid more money, right? People who can fix bigger problems. Like you want to know how to make more money in life, fix bigger problems. You're fixing way bigger problems when you help someone who, get their dog to stop biting people or stop going after other dogs, right? And I'll even add this too. I don't know if there is much more of a problem than somebody having a dog that they were so excited about. They pick their dog up, they bring it home, and then within a couple days, there's a resentment towards this dog because it won't stop chewing up the furniture and peeing and pooping everywhere and stuff like that. Like a lot of times people think like dog problems equals like aggression. That's a big dog problem. Like having a carpet that you spent $1,000 on and now it's destroyed,
Exactly.
So like that's the way I would think about this. Like you're not fixing this little problem. It's not just potty training, right? It's actually a really big problem that you're fixing for people. So make sure you charge accordingly. Change your mindset on that. Like I've had to work with quite a few of our trainers, or like I've helped them shift their mindset. Like this is not like this little thing that anybody can do. And it's really not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal to you because you're a dog trainer who knows how to do all this stuff. To the average person, the average dog owner, they know nothing about this. So if you can like fix that problem, like think of it this way, you're not just fixing the potty training issue. You're fixing the heartache of them having to deal with like destroyed furniture, right? You're fixing the heartache of them not getting a good night's sleep because the dog won't stop barking. You're fixing the heartache of them having to start every single day, missing their train going to work because the dog was covered in its own like pee and poop because they had to clean the dog up. Like that's all the stuff you're fixing. It's not just the one-off, like I did some potty training for them. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. And they're choosing to seek out a trainer versus getting rid of the dog or doing it themselves. Like Lianne, for example, before her entire training career even started, she had a dog that she was considering rehoming. After talking with her husband, they changed their mind and then they paid for training and it led her into a career. And now I'm sure her expectations for all of her dogs in her household has completely changed. So like, it's like a ripple effect. You help a family with potty training, it's going to lead to full-on training, a future program. They get another dog. They're so happy. They end up going to you again. So yeah, it's just all about like having a totally different mindset and perspective about those little issues that call in. They're people who need you.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I talk to clients all the time. Most people who own dogs are just simply uneducated on the amount of time it takes to raise a puppy. All the things you have to do before it's 16 weeks old in order to have a confident puppy that you can take places as an adult dog, right? There's so many things that's involved in puppy raising and even adult dogs that you have to go through different fear periods that they don't know. almost like puppies, I feel like are like the low hanging fruit, where that's a really easy sell because you are going to make their life so much better, right? You're going to give
Mm-hmm.
them so many management tools so that you can do the fun things later with their dogs, the adolescent stage that we all love, as well as the off leash stage where, if they want their dog off leash and go hiking, that's really fun teaching their dog that stuff. So I almost feel like puppy raising is really the low hanging fruit to get return investments over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I want to say this too, Lianne. I think one of the best things that you've said today too is the idea that the easiest people to sell are the people that have already bought something from you. So like that's just sales 101. If somebody already bought something from you, they did a puppy training program, they got results from that, who are they going to come back to if they want, if all of a sudden they're having leash issues, right? Or they want like off leash reliability and stuff like that? It's clear cut. It would be a statistical anomaly that they would go train with somebody else at that point, unless they just didn't have a good experience with you, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's just getting people in the door, and like people do this with business models all the time. People are investing their money in, a 401k with, one financial advisor. And I know people that do this, and they'll be like, they start kind of talking to somebody else, and the guy's like, well, I'm kind of happy with like who I'm investing money with now. And they'll be like, hey, you don't have to give me all $500,000 you have invested in your 401k for the last like 25 years, right? Why don't you just give me $2,000 and let me show you what I can do with that, right? And then all of a sudden you earn their trust and you're like, wow, the returns are really good here. We're making money from this. Like, what happens if I give you $100,000? What happens if I just let you manage all of it? So at the end of the day, it's like the same thing with this. It's like you get them in with like a lower, easier offer for them to say yes to because it's a thing that they need help with today. And that's another thing too, is like, don't start focusing on like selling them on all this stuff that's like further down the road that may be so important to you. It doesn't matter to them yet. Like they're not thinking about off leash reliability. They're not thinking about like a perfect heel or something like that. They're like, can someone just get my dog to stop destroying my home? And if you can do that, then you have the leg in the door to do all that other stuff.
Absolutely too. And like, you don't have to do a puppy board and train in order to capture all of that. Like if you have a facility or there's a enclosed park near you that you could hold a puppy class, or even partnering with a pet store, right? After hours, or they can clear a spot for you in the corner and you can hold puppy classes. That's great because you don't have to take the puppy home. So you don't have to deal with that. But all you're doing is educating and showing a little bit of handling, right? With puppies on what you can do to help them manage that situation. And again, like having these programs afterwards only builds more value to you, right? Like, okay, well, after we do this, this is the next step for you guys. And like you said, Kevin, know, like, and trust. If they know, like, and trust you, they are going to come back for repeat business every single time. And that's
Yes.
where even like later down the line, like what I did was I did puppy classes, right? And puppy board and trains. And afterwards, about at least 50% of those puppies came with us to do later programs. And then afterwards, they graduated to where we could do fun things like Hounds on the Town and paddleboarding. So we hosted those types of fun classes for them to come to. So we've had their business. They bought probably 3 or 4 programs from us at that point. You know what I mean? Which is huge.
That is, yeah.
I love that because like obviously they continued coming back for training, but you also like helped teach people how to like create a better bond with their dog to the point where they wanted to come to those other classes where you're like doing like Hounds on the Town. I'm assuming that's just kind of like an event where you go hang out with dogs and stuff like that and like go paddle boarding. So it's even like so much more than like fixing behaviors and teaching obedience. Like you are also teaching that you can do so much more with your dog.
Exactly. Yeah. Like for the Hounds on the Town, we did classes where we went to 2 or 3 different restaurants. So we went to like breweries, went to restaurants. Like what a fun class that was. And it gave the people the confidence to take their dogs out. So many times you see people, they have dogs, but they don't bring them anywhere. They're like, well, my dog misbehaves in public. Well, this is a great training opportunity to have your dog in public with a trainer. Obviously, this is not going to be the first class, but these are extra, enrichment activities that help people progress with their dogs, right?
For sure. Wait, Lianne, what was the name? You had another name for something that were like, wasn't there something specifically for when you guys would bring them to like the brewery or something like that too?
It was called Hounds on the Town. So it was like we brought them to a couple of different restaurants and a brewery, and we would strategically place them in specific areas of depending on the group of dogs. So
Okay.
is that what you're referring
Yeah.
to, Kevin?
No, I thought there was another one. Maybe I dreamt this or something like that. I thought it was like Prime for Pups or something like that. It was like something about like specifically geared towards like people drinking or something like that. Maybe that was somebody else.
Avid Dog did that. There was
Is that what I'm thinking of? Yeah.
maybe because I know that there was an event like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure the word pint and the word pups was in
Yeah.
it. Meeting
I
up at a
think I
brewery.
heard that somewhere. I'm not intelligent enough to have thought that up myself. I can tell you that right now. But hey, we got about 10 minutes left here. So I want to talk about one more topic. So this wouldn't be a Top Dog Mindset podcast if we didn't talk about sales for at least a couple minutes here. So Lianne, do you mind just refreshing my mind? You were talking before. I said like, what's something that you're seeing from a lot of clients? And I know it was a sales thing. So what are you seeing from a lot of people that you feel like they're kind of struggling with right now?
Yeah, I feel like people are really struggling with pricing objections and like being confident in delivering their price.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, it's funny we're talking about this. We signed up a couple new clients yesterday, which is super exciting. And I had a really, really great call with one of our new clients. And we were talking all about this. And I've had this conversation with many people recently. Here's like my overall thoughts on this. You need to really take a brutally honest look at what you're requiring from people to get started with you. So there's a lot of people out there and they do things like, I need half up front and I need half at halfway through the program in order for you to do this program with me, right? Or I need like half now and half at the start of the program. And what I always think about, you guys are probably sick of hearing me say this, but it's worth repeating because I think it's so important. The statistic for such a long time has been 60% of Americans do not have $1,000 in their checking account. I think it's even higher now. I think I heard the other day it was like 75% or something like that. So when you play those odds and you say to somebody, hey, this is a $4,000 program, I need $2,000 to get you started. Like, what do you think is going to happen there? I'm not trying to be like to be like totally rude about it, but it's just like you need to just be totally ruthless when you look at this and go, most people do not have $2,000 liquid cash sitting in their checking account to pay you. They may have access to credit cards. That's a whole different story. But it's just like philosophically speaking, people hear that number. I need $2,000 to get started right now. And it makes it an impossibility for them to get started. So what I always think about is like the really talented salespeople. Yeah, they're really good at handling objections and they're really good at building value and they're really good at like the whole know, like, and trust factor. But they're also really good at finding creative solutions to make their programs more affordable to people. Lianne, you and I were on a call with one of our clients, Hunter, recently. Awesome dude. And I feel like he does such a good job of framing this to people where he uses like third-party financing options. And he's like, we can get you started for as low as $130 a month, $130 a month and you're in, right? And they use a third-party financing app to do that. And just the way that you're phrasing it to people, it's not, hey, I need $2,000 today and your drop off is in a week, so I need another $2,000 then. It's like, who can pay for that? Even the whole thing of like a $500 deposit. Yeah, that's ideal. And that's kind of the sweet spot that we even teach at people, anywhere between $300 to $500 for a deposit to secure the spot, because you want them putting some skin in the game. But at the end of the day, if they can't do that, a lot of times people throw their hands up and they couldn't do the deposit, game over. It's like, no, like you need to find different creative ways to get them in. And so, never lose sight of the fact that Best Buy like does in-house financing. Apple does this. They let people finance phones and computers all the time for way less money than what people are selling dog training programs for. So just think about that. Like these companies that make billions of dollars a year, there's a reason that they offer this stuff. And the last thing I'll say about it, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well, is the in-house financing stuff. Even, hey, they have crappy credit, right? They don't get approved. Okay, well, that's not the end of the line. So what you can do is say like, hey, normally what we do is this. I usually need to grab a deposit of $500. For you, I'll bend the rules as long as we can kind of come to an agreement here that we can really rely on you making these payments. Can we just kind of have like an agreement where you feel comfortable that you can do that? Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. Trust me. I can 100% make that happen. All right, cool. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set you up. You're going to pay me $200 today for a deposit, and we're going to start charging you every week or every other week. And you're going to pay now. We're going to book out your program a little bit further into advance so that way you start making payments. You're paying, before the program, during the program, and then there's going to be some remaining balance after the program. But a lot of people make the mistake that they get screwed over one time Or ironically, it doesn't even happen to them. It happened to a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend that they heard about, that they got screwed over. And they're like, I don't do that because I heard that doesn't work. At the end of the day, you need to be flexible and find ways to get people in and let the evidence speak for itself. Like, let you be a case study for yourself. Don't just go off what other people are saying happened to them. And even if it did happen to you one time, let that just be like, hey, that happened once. That's the cost of doing business. Shit happens. I'm not going to cut off my nose to spite my face. Like, I'm going to offer this. I'm going to do the best I can. And there's different repercussions that happen. Like, if people don't pay their bill, you can put them to collections, you could take them to small claims court, all that stuff. So this is all just to say that, like, I think the whole price objection thing, like, we can talk a lot about how to handle that and a really smooth way to do it and get people in. But at the end of the day, what I've really found is, like, if you're building value and people are in love with you and they want to do this and that's sincere and they just don't have the money, then you need to find a way to help them get access to the money. So I'd love to hear from you guys and like what you guys think on that and like kind of, what your thoughts are. I know I just threw a lot of stuff out there.
Well, I was gonna add on to I thought of this earlier when you were talking about like how hunters approach. In some cases, he says like we only need this much to get started, or we only need as low as $130 to get started. There's so many businesses outside of dogs that offer stuff like that and will advertise like get started for as little as, $20. And it might be for like this huge like long-term program, but that's what gets people in, is just the fact that they can walk in the door for such little money, and the process is so easy is what brings people in. And I have a story for myself. Is when I joined this new gym that I am currently with, I was previously with this other gym, and I think I've told the story when we were talking about like long-term nurturing.
Okay, it's a top tier story. You got to tell it again.
So this new gym that I joined, I ended up signing up because they just kept texting me. So their long-term nurturing system was on point. I was getting a text from them like every week, and I could have easily responded stop, but I just kept forgetting. But it was just the fact that I kept seeing their name pop up on my phone. I'm pretty sure the membership was like 50% less than what I was paying at my other gym. But what ended up making me go with them is there was one day I got a text and it was like, start today for a penny. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm starting for a penny.
Wow, that is awesome marketing, honestly, for a penny. That's such a good offer.
And I'm pretty sure it was like start for a penny and you only get that like for a week. I started knowing that literally next week I'm going to start paying the monthly membership, but it was start for a penny for only 1 week that got me. And now I pay the normal amount
for a penny. What can you possibly get for a penny in 2025?
And
I think there's an argument to be made that we should just get rid of the penny, honestly, but
exactly.
Yeah.
But, and again, it wasn't like get your first month free or get your first 3 months free. It was literally 1 week. So it's like, okay, I'm making this decision today to hand you a penny. Next week, I have to actually like, my money is going to start getting taken out of my bank account every month. But
wait, I got a question. Did you walk in and hand them a penny?
No,
you should have done that. You should have been like, you said 1 penny, here's my penny.
No, even worse. I gave them my debit card.
Well, so okay. That's what it's so funny, but that's all they were trying to do. They wanted to have a card on file. Because once you have the card on file, it's like, yep, you're getting charged next week. And you're like, all right, whatever, I'm getting charged next week, whatever. Card's already on file. Like that would work for dog trainers too. Like you can do that and just be like, oh yeah, and you're paying a penny today to get you locked in. And in 5 days, you're getting charged $500.
Exactly. Again, it was like half of what I was paying at the other gym. So it went from paying like $60 a month to, I think it's like now $35 a month. Signing up, I was only saving like $30 or however much it breaks down weekly. But it was just like the offer and the way they worded it and the way they made it sound so exciting, and I was saving money, that what got me in. So sometimes it's just about like how you word the offer.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, listen, I'll finish up with this and then we got to run because I actually got to hop to another podcast with somebody else that's going to be a lot of fun to do. But
You're
yeah, I know. I'll
Super
see you
famous.
guys
Let's get an
later.
autograph before you leave, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. My brother, Jack, is an actor and not like big time or anything like that. He does like, he's been doing a lot of like vertical films and stuff like that. If anybody knows what that is, but there's a picture, a headshot of him that he signed to my mom. And he's like, Audrey, you know, so great to meet you, dash Jack Byram. But yeah, the last thing I'll say about this is all of this stuff works. Like a lot of us like think that we're above marketing and that like, oh, that doesn't work on me. Or like, oh, those like sales tactics don't work on me. It's like, yeah, it does. It works on me. Like I buy stupid shit all the time that I'm like, $8, you can't beat that. I gotta have that thing, you know? And I think that's just because I'm a marketer and like I work in sales and stuff like that, that I'm like the easiest people to sell to, like are salespeople, they say.
Well, wasn't there a time when you bought like 300 comics?
Oh, we don't
And
need
you-
to go there. We don't
and
need to
you-
talk about that.
and
That
you-
was an investment. Okay, let me be very clear.
Comics?
Those are sitting downstairs, and yeah, that was gonna be a fun project, and then I just totally forgot about it. So
But they
You
got
also
you.
have 300 Beanie Babies.
yeah. Well, I used to have Beanie Babies when I was a kid, but I sold them all. But listen, let's wrap it up here because I don't want to keep the next person waiting here. So, Lianne, it was great having you on today, and we're gonna have to do this again in the future and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as always, thanks for watching, guys. Like it's always great to get feedback from you. If there's anything that you guys want to hear us talk about, just drop it down below in the comment section, and we will see you guys all very soon in the next one. See you guys.